Okay, and this one, the assigned problems are the two in the back. Every problem's pretty much the same setup. It says one person buys 5 pounds of oranges and 8 pounds of apples for $11.47. Another person buys 3 pounds of oranges and 2 pounds of apples for $4.25. Find the cost of a single pound of oranges and a single pound of apples. So again, you have 3 units. So just like the last two, you're going to your table, but leave yourself some room under it because you got some math to work. Okay, so you got together. Then down the row you have how many, per, and total. Now we got oranges, apples, and money, so we're going to do oranges and apples. And then the money can go per and total, just like always, no different. But here's the first difference. What's your total cost? Well, given the fact that there's 2 people, there's 2 total costs. First, put 11.47 equals in front, and in that same box, you're going to put another total cost of $4.25. So you have 2 totals. So every box, since you have 2 things down here, every other box needs 2 things. Okay, I'll repeat that. Since I have 2 totals, every other box I fill out is going to have 2 different things. Okay, now look at the numbers that are not money. So oranges, well, we got 5 pounds and 8 pounds. Those belong on the top row. 5 of oranges, 8 of apples. So I put 5 and 8. Now keep reading. You also have 3 of oranges, 2 of apples. So 3 and 2, just like that. Notice how I said everything you put. So together, this guy bought 13 pounds together, 5 plus 8, and this guy bought 3 plus 2 is 5 pounds together. Now cross out all those 5, 8, 3, and 2. They're gone. Now the cost is what you're trying to figure out, but you need an X and a Y for both of these because you really don't have anything like a more than or anything. So you have X, X here and Y, Y here, and then you can fill out your 2 equations. So this guy spent $11.47. He bought 5 pounds of oranges, but I don't know how much it cost. 8 pounds of apples, don't know what the cost was, 8Y. And then 5X, or no, 3 times X would be 3X. 2 times y would be 2y. And there's my 2 equations right there. Okay, I just have to solve them. So we have 5x plus 8y equals 11.47, and then we have 3x plus 2y equals 4.25. Okay, so obviously you want to use the elimination, okay? And that's 8, that's 10, and neither one of them is the same, so I go times, I'm going to go 3, and then times down here by 5. That'll get us both to 15x, but then I got to times the rest of this by 3, and the rest of this by 5, okay? So it's going to give us 15x, 8y times 3 is 24y, 11.47 times 3 is 34.41. Now the other one, 3x times 5 is 15x, 2y times 5 is 10y, then 4.25 times 5 is going to be 21.25. Okay, now you got the same number here, which you can get it to 0 if you make that negative. Now they'll add to 0. So negative, negative. So add those at 0. So 24 plus negative 10 is 14. So 14y. You got to remember the negatives there. 34.41 plus negative 21.25 is 13.16. Now I divide both sides by 14. That finds my y answer. 13.16 times 14, 0.94. Which makes sense because the y, the apples, that's your y, is 0.94. That's how much the apples cost, 94 cents. Now, there's not a quick way to get the second answer, okay, because these don't have a together amount to go with them, so you got to use one of your 2 originals. We'll go 5x plus 8y equals 11.47. So get rid of your y is gone, and we're putting 0.94 in place of it. So I take 8 times 94 cents. 8 times 0.94. 7.52. Not 7.52. It doesn't have a letter anymore. Okay? And then plus 5x. Don't put a letter on the 7.52. That's a constant now. So I subtract 752. And I now have 5x. And I take 11.47 minus 7.52, and I get 3.95, okay? Divide by 5, and I have my x answer. 0.79, so x would be 79 cents, okay? So there's the two answers. Okay, next problem. Angie and Kenny play online video games. Angie buys one software package and 3 months of gameplay. She pays a total of $65. Kenny buys one software package and 2 months of gameplay. He pays a total of $50. Find the cost of a single software package and the cost of a single month of gameplay. 3 units. So table. So you have together. Then how many, then per, and total. Every time, all day, okay? Money goes on top, because money is a unit. Now the software package is in months of gameplay, so just put SP for software, GP for gameplay. Money total, well there's 2 different people, so there's going to be 2 totals. You got 65, and then you got 50. Put them in the order they appear in the problem. So that means every box needs 2 different things, okay? So take your non-money numbers. So 1's not a money number, that's your software package. 3, not a money number, that's the gameplay. Cross those out as you put them in the table. 1 software package and 2 months of gameplay. So that's going to make 4, and that makes 3, because you add across. Okay, so we don't know what they cost, so we'll have this be x, we'll let this be y. So 1 times x are both going to be 1x, and that's going to be 3y and 2y. So I have my system of equations now. I have 1x plus 3y equals 65. And then I have 1x plus 2y equals 50. Okay, add. That's 2x, that's 5y. That isn't going to work, but we have the same number there, okay? So if I go negative, they now add to 0, but then the rest of it goes negative. So that is now 1y, and that plus that is 15. Then I divide by 1, and y equals 15. So my y's are both 15. So 15 is how much a month of gameplay costs, $15. Okay, now use your top equation. You can use any equation you want. I usually go with the top because that's where I didn't change all the signs, and I put my y solution in for y. So 3 times 15 gives me a product of 45. Remember to add the 1x. Then go from there. You minus 45. 1x equals 20. Then divide by 1 and you're still at 20. So $20 for the software package. Okay, next one. 2 schools buy helmets and uniforms from a store. The school buys 5 helmets and 7 uniforms for $250. The other school buys 7 helmets and 10 uniforms for $354. Find the cost of a single helmet, cost of a uniform. 3 units, okay, so the table kind of makes all the information into a math problem. So I have together, how many, per, and total. Okay, helmets and uniforms, H and U. So total cost, well there's 2 schools, so you got $250 for the first, that's your total cost. and then 354 for the second. So those are two equations. That's where they're going to be at. So non-money numbers, numbers not money, 5 helmets, okay? 7 uniforms. 7 helmets, that's for a different school, and then 10 uniforms. So it's going to be 12, and that's 17. Add across. I don't really use those, but it's there. Okay, how much they cost, I don't know. So that's X, and that's Y. So that's going to be 5X on top of 7X, 7Y on top of 10Y. So now I have my system. 5 times the cost plus 7 times the cost of the uniform is equal to 250, and then 7X plus 10Y equals 354. Okay, add, that's 12X, 17Y, and nothing's the same, so not going to work. So you got to take this 7 times everything, and here by 5. So I got to times the rest of this by 7, and the rest of this by 5. So it's 35X plus 49Y, and then 250 times 7 on a calculator is 1,750. Then that's going to be 35X. 10Y times 5 is 50Y. And then 354 times 5 gives you 1,770. Okay, now they don't add to 0, but you at least have the same number. So if you go sign change, now they add to 0, but then the rest of this is changed. So 49 plus negative 50 is negative 1Y, and if I take 1,750 plus negative 1,770, you get negative 20. Now divide by negative 1, and Y equals 20. So there's Y, okay, that's your uniform cost. So the uniform cost is 20 bucks. Now the helmets, you go with this, so you go 5X plus 7Y equals 250, and I can put that 20 where the Y is. So 7 times 20 is 140, and we got plus the 5X. So minus 140, minus 140, and that gives you 110, and then I have 5X. Now I divide both sides by 5. 110 divided by 5, I think, is 22. Yep. Okay, last problem. Jillian and Tyson are shopping for supplies. Jillian needs 3 balls of yarn and 1 set of needles for $21.95. Tyson buys 1 ball of yarn and 2 sets of needles for $12.65. Find the cost of a ball of yarn, cost of needles. Okay, so my table goes up. So you got together, how many per and total. Okay, so yarn and needles. And then money. So 2 people means 2 costs. You got $21.95 and then $12.65. Okay, so 3 is not a money, it's yarn. Okay, 1 needles, 1 yarn, and 2 needles, so it gives me a 4 and a 3, even though I don't use those, I at least know them. Then the yarn's X, the needles is Y, so it gives you 3X and 1X, because you're multiplying, 1Y and 2Y. Okay, so there's my system right there. 3X plus 1Y equals 21.95, and then 1X plus 2Y equals 12.65. Okay, so you got a 1 here, so you're going to multiply the top by 1. By the way, use elimination, but that's 4X, that's 3Y, and you don't have any of the same. So 1 and 3. So it's going to be 3X plus 1Y equals 21.95. And then the bottom is 3X plus 6Y. 12.65 times 3 is 37.95. Okay, now I got the same thing, but they're not going to add to 0 unless I make that opposite. Now they add to 0. That becomes negative, that's negative. So 1 plus negative 6 is negative 5y. Then 21.95 plus negative 37.95 is negative 16. So now I divide both sides by negative 5. Got 3.2, which is okay, because the cost would be 320. Okay, so the cost of the needles is 320. Okay, now the yard, use this one here. Okay, so 3x plus 1y equals 21.95. Then the y can be replaced with your first answer, 3.20. So that product, 1 times 320 is 3.20, and then I add the 3x. Okay, so I subtract 3.20, subtract 3.20, 3x equals 18.75, and then I divide both sides by 3, and I get 6.25, so x is 625. So that's your other answer, okay? 320, 620.